At the end of my 3-day business trip in New York, my son grabbed my sleeve and whispered, "Mom, can I stop taking the pills Auntie gives me?" My parents and sister laughed off, calling them harmless vitamins. I took the bottle to a doctor and his face+went pale the moment he saw the results. My name is Cassandra Wade. I'm 41, single mom, and I just landed back in Portland after a 4-day work trip to New York. I dragged my suitcase through the front door of our Cedar Hills house in Beaverton Friday, just past 6 p.m. The second the door clicked shut, my 9-year-old son, Lucas, came running face white as paper, grabbed my sleeve and whispered, "Mom, can I please stop taking the pills Aunt Brooke makes me swallow? They make me throw up and I sleep all day." Before I could answer, Brooke stepped out of the kitchen, arms crossed, fake smile. "He's just being dramatic, Cass. It's special vitamins custom-made. Good stuff." My mom stroked Lucas's hair. "Listen to your aunt, sweetheart. She only wants what's best." My dad nodded from the couch. "Lucky he has family here. You're gone half the month." All three of them exchanged that quick, tight glance I'd seen too many times lately. Lucas squeezed my hand so hard it hurt. That night, when the house was finally quiet, I slipped into Brooke's room. Top shelf behind some sweaters. Small white bottle, no label, just a piece of masking tape with her handwriting vitamins. I twisted the cap. The smell hit me like a slap. Thick chemical, unmistakable sleep medicine stench. My blood froze. If you're watching this right now, drop a comment and tell me where you are and what time it is for you. Knowing you're here with me is the only thing giving me the strength to keep telling what happened next, because what the doctor showed me the very next morning turned my entire world black. That bottle never left my hand the whole night. I sat in Lucas's room back against the door holding him while he finally drifted off. Every time he shifted, I checked his breathing. By 5:30, I couldn't wait anymore. I woke him gently, told him we were going for a quick checkup before breakfast, and carried him half asleep to the car. 25 minutes later, we pulled into the parking garage at Providence St. Vincent Medical Center. Dr. Sarah and Guyan took one look at Lucas' pale eyelids, heavy speech, slow, and ordered stat blood work. She didn't waste time on questions. They wheeled him to the pediatric observation bay and kept him there. I paced the hallway, clutching the unlabeled bottle in my coat pocket like evidence at a crime scene. 3 hours crawled by. Sarah finally called me into her office, closed the door, and slid the lab printout across the desk. The number hit me first. Diphenhydramine level 2 450 nmol. She didn't sugarcoat it. That's 7 times the upper limit for an adult Cassandra. In a 9-year-old, repeated doses at this strength can cause permanent cognitive injury, memory, attention processing speed. She paused, eyes hard. "Someone has been sedating your son with adult strength sleep medication." My legs gave out. I sat down hard. Sarah didn't stop. She picked up the phone, dialed Child Protective Services herself, then campus security. Within minutes, a social worker and a Washington County deputy were in the room. I handed over the bottle. Sarah gave them the lab report and a sealed evidence bag. The deputy photographed everything on the spot. The social worker told me Lucas would stay admitted for monitoring and a full toxicology panel. They needed to document the exact timeline of exposure. I managed to snap photos of the paperwork on my phone before they took the originals. "Sarah slipped me a duplicate summary for your records." She lowered her voice. "Take this home carefully. You're going to need it." The drive back to Beaverton felt endless. I walked in just after 3. Brooke was sprawled on the couch scrolling her phone. Mom folding laundry. Dad watching a golf rerun. I dropped my keys on the counter louder than necessary, walked straight to the coffee table and placed the folded lab summary face up. Brooke sat up slowly. Mom froze mid-fold. Dad muted the TV. Brooke reached first. Her eyes scanned the page and the color drained from her face. Dad snatched it next, frowning like it was written in another language. "Lab error," he muttered. "Happens all the time." Mom moved behind Brooke, hands on her shoulders. "Honey, you are only trying to help the boy rest better. Doctors blow everything out of proportion." Brooke's voice cracked. "It's just a stronger vitamin." Cass overreacting. I kept my voice flat. "CPS is already involved. Police have the bottle. This isn't going away." Dead silence. Then Dad leaned forward, elbows on knees. "You're willing to destroy your own family over a misunderstanding." Mom's grip tightened on Brooke. "Think about Lucas. All this stress isn't good for him." Brooke wiped her eyes, but I saw the calculation behind the tears. Dad glanced at Mom and gave the tiniest shake of his head. "Message received. Say nothing more." I turned and walked upstairs. Behind me, I heard Dad whisper, "Let it blow over. She'll calm down." I closed my bedroom door, locked it, and started backing up every photo to the cloud. Sunday morning, they all left for the Costco run. Dad driving, Mom riding shotgun, Brooke in the back with her reusable bags. I waited until the SUV turned the corner onto 142nd, then moved fast. I'd paid extra for same-day pickup at the Best Buy in Tannisburn. 4 Arlo Essential Indoor Cameras, matte white, no bigger than hockey pucks, designed to blend into any ceiling. I grabbed the ladder from the garage, worked in silence. First unit screwed into the basement ceiling directly above the old leather couch, wide angle, covering the entire rec area. Second one tucked in the corner joist near the mini fridge, catching the stairs in the doorway. Third went high in the living room, crown molding aimed at the front entrance and the hallway beyond. Fourth, in the upstairs hall, perfectly positioned to see every bedroom door and the top of the stairs. 10 minutes each, no wires, no blinking lights, battery life advertised at 6 months. I paired them to a brand new account, changed the default password to something only I would ever know, enabled motion alerts and 24-hour cloud recording. By the time I heard the garage door rumble back open, every camera was live and invisible. Monday, I dropped Lucas at Cedar Mill Elementary, kissed the top of his head, and drove downtown to the Pearl District like nothing had changed. At 9:03 a.m., my phone vibrated. Motion alert, front door. Brooke, still in pajama shorts and one of my old college hoodies, opened the door for a man I'd never seen before. Dark hair, navy peacecoat, carrying 2 paper cups from Dragonfly Coffee on Canyon Road. She took the coffee, kissed him hard right there on the porch, then pulled him inside. They disappeared down the basement stairs. I switched feeds. The couch camera caught everything in crisp 1080p. Brooke set the coffees down, pushed him gently against the backrest, and climbed onto his lap. They kissed like they'd been waiting weeks. He laughed low when she whispered something against his ear. She tugged his coat off, let it drop to the floor, then reached for the remote, and turned on the little string lights she'd hung last month. The glow made the whole scene look staged, intimate, practiced. She glanced up once, right toward the ceiling, right toward the lens she had no idea was there, and smirked before burying her face in his neck again. Tuesday, he arrived at 10:41. Same coffee, same route, straight to the basement. This time, she had music playing, some indie playlist she knows I hate. They danced slow in the middle of the rug, barefoot, wine glasses already in hand. Wednesday, he showed up at noon with takeout from the Thai place on Murray. They ate cross-legged on the basement floor, feeding each other noodles between kisses, laughing at private jokes I couldn't hear yet. Thursday, he walked in at 9:29, carrying a small black duffel. Brooke locked the front door behind him, took the bag, and led him downstairs. The duffel stayed down there the entire day. Every single morning, I sat at my standing desk pretending to review marketing decks while the second monitor showed my own house being used like a hotel. I saved every clip to an encrypted folder, timestamped title by date. My pulse never slowed. I drank coffee I didn't taste. I answered Slack messages with one hand and refreshed the live feed with the other. By Thursday night, I had over 30 hours of footage and still no clear audio of what they were actually planning, but the pattern was undeniable. The house was theirs the moment my car left the driveway. I closed the office early, drove home through sheets of Oregon rain, and parked 3 houses down under the dripping maple trees. I opened the laptop on the passenger seat, pulled up the basement feed, and waited for Friday. I never went inside after work. I parked 3 blocks away under the dripping cedars on 141st, cracked the window for air, and opened the laptop on the steering wheel. The rain hammered the roof like it was trying to drown out what I already knew was coming. At 8:17 a.m., Landon walked in carrying 2 coffees from Dragonfly on Canyon Road and a small paper bag. Brooke met him at the door wearing nothing but an oversized flannel, my flannel, and pulled him straight downstairs. I switched to the basement wide angle. She set the coffees on the trunk, flicked on the string lights, and pushed him onto the couch. He laughed. "Your sister definitely gone until 6 o'clock at the earliest," she said, climbing onto his lap. "We've got the whole day." She kissed him slow, then pulled back just enough for the camera to catch every word. "Everything's on track, babe. Lucas failed another spelling test last week. Teacher already emailed about possible processing issues. Another month of this dosage, and no pediatrician will question a developmental delay diagnosis." Landon traced the chain around her neck, the one I'd never seen. "And then Mom and Dad file for guardianship of a cognitively impaired minor. Oregon law is clear: if the parent is deemed unfit due to absenteeism and the child has special needs, the court almost always awards guardianship to willing family members. Once they control Lucas, they control his trust. Half the equity in this house came from his dad's life insurance payout. That money was earmarked for his future care. Guardians get to decide what care means." She smiled like she was talking about vacation plans. "We liquidate the asset, pay off Dad's 70 grand hole from that Idaho land flop, give Mom and Dad a cushion, and the rest is ours. Cassandra keeps her job and her suitcase." Landon raised an eyebrow. "Your parents are really in Dad's desperate. Mom's always chosen me anyway. They've been dropping hints for months about how unfair it is that I'm struggling while Cassandra got the house in the divorce settlement." She reached for her phone, my banking app, still logged in on her device because I'd trusted her with the secondary card for groceries. She turned the screen toward him. C4,200 to Bridgeport Jewelers, Tudor Black Bay. Happy birthday, baby. He kissed her hard enough that the couch creaked. You're insane. I love it. Brooke laughed against his mouth. Just wait until escrow closes. I sat in the dark car rain streaking the windshield, replaying the clip 3 times to be sure I hadn't imagined it. Every word was crystal. I screen recorded the entire conversation, then dug into the transaction history. The charge had posted Wednesday at 2:14 p.m. Notifications sent to the old Gmail I'd abandoned after the divorce, the one still linked to the card because I'd never bothered to update it. Later that night, after Lucas was asleep, the hallway camera caught Mom and Dad in the kitchen long after they thought everyone was in bed. Dad poured 2 fingers of bourbon, voice low. As soon as we have the neurosych report, we file. I already talked to the attorney in Tigert. Cassandra travels too much, works too much. Classic neglect. Judge will side with family. Mom nodded, twisting her wedding ring. Brooke deserves this house more anyway. She's the one who's been here every day. Dad clinky tucked his glass against hers. To new beginnings. I saved that clip too, labeled it Kitchen 132, and added it to the encrypted drive. My hands were ice-cold steady for the first time all week. Saturday morning, I walked into the kitchen while they were eating cereal. I set my phone on the island screen up volume maxed and hit play on the basement clip. Brooke's voice filled the room. Once they control Lucas, they control his trust. Cassandra keeps her job in her suitcase. Spoons froze mid-air. Color drained from every face. I let it run. I walked through the front door at 3:07 p.m. sharp. The smell of garlic and oregano hit me first. Mom stood at the stove stirring marinara. Dad was at the island cubing ciabatta for garlic bread. From the basement came the low thump of music and Brooke's unmistakable laugh. I dropped my tote on the bench, kicked off my shoes, and pulled my phone from my pocket. 1 tap. Volume max. The Thursday clip started rolling through the built-in house speakers I'd connected to the same network as the cameras. Brooke's voice boomed through every room. Court-approved sale for care purposes. Dad pays off his Idaho debt. Mom gets her cruise fund and we walk away with the rest. The wooden spoon clattered into the pot. Mom spun around, sauce splattering the backsplash. Dad's knife froze mid-air. Heavy footsteps pounded up the stairs. Brooke burst into the kitchen first. Landon half a step behind, shirt untucked, cheeks flushed. She saw the phone in my hand and the blood drained from her face. Dad recovered first. Turn that off now. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Cassandra, you recorded your own family. I didn't move. The clip kept playing Dad's midnight bourbon toast about guardianship. Mom's quiet agreement. Every syllable echoed off the vaulted ceiling. Brooke lunged for the phone. I lifted it higher. Touch me and it goes straight to the Washington County Sheriff. Landon shifted toward the back door. Eyes darting. Brooke grabbed his wrist. You're not leaving me here. Dad's face turned purple. You have no right to spy on us in our own house. This is my house, I said. Voice calm. Deadly. My name on the deed. My son, you've been poisoning my life you plan to sell. Mom started sobbing big dramatic tears. We were only trying to secure everyone's future. Brooke's voice cracked. You're never here. I've been the one raising him while you chase promotions in New York. Dad slammed the knife down. You call the police and you destroy 4 lives. Think about Lucas. You want him taken away by strangers. I met his stare. I'm thinking about Lucas. That's why this ends right now. Landon tried again. Quieter. Brooke, I really think she whipped around. We're in this together. You promised. He looked at me, then at the floor, and took 1 slow step back. Brooke's grip tightened until her knuckles went white. You coward. Mom moved between us. Arms spread like a shield. Cass, baby, we're blood. Let's talk this out. Nobody has to get hurt. I laughed, short, sharp, humorless. Blood doesn't drug a 9-year-old for profit. Dad took a threatening step forward. You report this and we'll fight you in court for years. We'll say you fabricated everything. Who do you think the judge will believe? Grandparents who've been here every day or the mother who's gone half the month? Brooke's eyes narrowed. And when they dig into your travel schedule, your overtime, your nanny cancellations, good luck keeping custody. Mom nodded through tears. We only want what's best for the boy. I looked at the 3 people who raised me, who shared holidays and birthdays and funerals, and felt the last thread snap. You want what's best for yourselves, I said. And you just confessed to it on camera. Dad's fists clenched. You'll regret this. Mom collapsed into a chair, wailing. My own daughter. Brooke screamed. This house should have been mine anyway. Landon finally broke free and bolted for the back door. The screen slammed behind him. I raised the phone, ended the recording, and dialed 911 in front of them. 911. What's your emergency? I kept my eyes on my family. I need officers and child protective services to 142A7 SW Aspen Lane, Beaverton. My son has been poisoned by relatives attempting to steal his inheritance. I have video and audio evidence. Brooke lunged. Dad grabbed her arm. Mom kept crying. The dispatcher stayed calm. "Units are en route, ma'am. Stay on the line." I hung up only when I heard sirens 2 blocks away. The first patrol car rolled up exactly 11 minutes later, lights cutting through the drizzle. A second unit followed, then an unmarked CPS sedan. 2 officers stepped onto the porch while the social worker hung back taking notes. I met them at the door, USB already in my handphone recording everything. I walked the lead officer, Sergeant Ramirez, straight to the living room. Dad stood rigid by the couch. Mom clutched tissues. Brooke paced like a caged animal, mascara streaking. I handed over the drive. 27 video files, 11 audio, all time-stamped. Child endangerment, conspiracy to commit guardianship fraud. Attempted theft of a minor's trust. Everything you need is on here. Ramirez plugged the USB into his body cam tablet. The Thursday clip started playing on the big screen I'd connected minutes earlier. Brooke's voice filled the room again. "Court-approved sale for care purposes." Dad lunged for the remote. The second officer blocked him without effort. The social worker, Ms. Chen, knelt beside Lucas, who had wandered downstairs, clutching his stuffed orca. She spoke softly, asked simple questions. He answered in a small voice. "Aunt Brooke makes me take the white pills when Mom's gone. They make my head fuzzy." Chen's face hardened. She stood. "We're transporting the minor for immediate medical evaluation. Providence St. Vincent has a bed ready." Brooke screamed. "You can't take him." Ramirez calmly read her rights while cuffing wasn't needed yet. She wasn't running. Dad tried to argue jurisdiction. Mom collapsed into a dining chair, sobbing into her hands. I signed the temporary safety plan on the spot. Lucas hugged me tight, whispering, "Are you coming with me every second, buddy?" While the officers secured the scene, I pulled the printed deed from my office drawer, recorded Multnomah County, 2019, my name only, and showed Ramirez, "This property is solely mine. I'm exercising my legal right to revoke residency privileges for Marilyn Wade, Edward Wade, and Brooke Wade, effective immediately." Dad's mouth opened-closed. For the first time in my life, he had nothing to say. Ramirez nodded. "We can stand by while they collect essentials. 24 hours to vacate fully. After that, it's trespassing." Chen took Lucas by the hand. I grabbed his overnight bag and followed them to the CPS car. Brooke tried to run after us. An officer gently blocked her path. Her scream echoed down the street as we pulled away. At the hospital, they drew new blood, ran a fresh talk screen, and admitted Lucas to PEDS for observation. By 9 that night, the on-call judge signed the emergency protective order over video link. No contact between Lucas and the 3 named adults for 72 hours. Minimum review scheduled within 5 days. Probable extension to 5 years with automatic renewal clause if risk persists. I sat in the vinyl chair beside Lucas's bed, holding his hand while he slept under warm blankets for the first time in weeks without chemical fog. The nurse brought me a blanket too. I wrapped it around my shoulders and stared at the monitor beeping steady and strong. Back home, the officers oversaw the packing. Dad carried out 2 suitcases in silence. Mom followed with a laundry basket of clothes, eyes swollen. Brooke refused to pack at first, sat on the basement couch, screaming that everything was mine by right. Eventually, the officers explained she could leave voluntarily or be removed. She left with 1 duffel and her purse, slamming the door so hard the front window rattled. By midnight, the house was empty, except for the faint smell of garlic still lingering in the air, and the quiet I hadn't heard in months. I changed every lock the next morning before Lucas came home. The emergency hearing took place in Courtroom 3 of the Washington County Juvenile and Family Court Building in Hillsborough. I walked in with Melissa Hartman at my side, Lucas holding my hand tight. The room smelled of old wood and lemon polish. Brooke sat at the respondent table flanked by a public defender who looked barely 30. Mom and Dad sat directly behind her in the gallery, dressed like they were attending a funeral. Judge Elena Morales entered. Black robe, crisp silver hair pulled back. She wasted no time. "This is an OS 419B100 emergency protective custody review. Ms. Hartman, you may proceed." Melissa stood. "Your Honor, we are requesting continuation of the emergency order conversion to a 5-year restraining order with automatic renewal and civil damages for intentional infliction of emotional distress and medical endangerment." She clicked the remote. The big screen lit up with the basement clip. Brooke's voice clear as glass. "Once they're appointed conservators, the house is the biggest asset. We liquidate." The public defender objected to chain of custody. Judge Morales overruled. "I've reviewed the forensic report from the Washington County Digital Forensics Unit. Chain is intact." Next came the kitchen midnight clip. Dad's bourbon toast. Mom covered her face. Dad stared straight ahead, jaw clenched. Melissa called Dr. Sarah Inouye to the stand. Sarah laid out the toxicology reports, the projected permanent cognitive risk, and stated flatly this was deliberate, repeated administration of a Schedule IV controlled substance to a minor without medical justification. It meets the definition of child abuse under Oregon law. The public defender tried to paint me as an absentee parent. Melissa countered with my travelogues, child care contracts, and Lucas's perfect attendance record until the poisoning began. Brooke took the stand last. She cried, claimed the pills were herbal sleep aids, insisted she only wanted to help. The judge asked one question. Why is there no label, no dosage instruction, and no prescription record? Brooke had no answer. Mom and Dad refused to testify after the judge warned them about perjury. Their silence spoke louder than words. Judge Morales returned after 20 minutes. The court finds clear and convincing evidence of immediate danger to the child's physical and emotional welfare. The emergency order is converted to a permanent protective order under OS 107.718. Brooke Wade, Marilyn Wade, and Edward Wade are prohibited from any contact with Lucas Wade for 5 years. Renewable automatically upon showing of continued risk. Civil judgment is entered against Brooke Wade in the amount of $48,000 for medical costs, therapy, and pain and suffering. CPS will continue its parallel criminal investigation. She banged the gavel. Brooke collapsed forward, sobbing into her arms. Mom reached for her, then thought better and sat back down. Dad just stared at the floor. We walked out into the hallway. Lucas hugged my leg. Are we safe now, Mom? I knelt, looked him in the eye completely. 1 week later, the preschool where Brooke had worked for 6 years received the official CPS substantiation letter. Oregon state law requires immediate termination for any founded child abuse finding against an employee. Her personnel file was flagged permanently. No licensed early childhood center in the state would touch her again. I filed the civil judgment the same day. Collection started 30 days later. October sunlight poured through the new skylight I had installed in the upstairs hallway, the one Lucas picked out himself from the catalog. He turned 10 last month. 10 candles on a chocolate cake shaped like the Portland Timbers logo. He blew them all out in one breath. Cheeks, pink eyes, bright, no trace of the fog that used to cloud them. Cedar Hills looks exactly the same from the street, but inside everything is different. Fresh paint and soft blues and greens. New locks, new alarm code, new doorbell camera. The trust I set up for Lucas is now irrevocable until he turns 18. Oregon Law 130,510. The house equity that once belonged to his father's life insurance payout sits safely inside it, managed by a bonded fiduciary I chose myself. No relative, no court, no one can touch a penny without my signature and a judge's order. Brooke lives in a 400 cubic-foot studio off 82nd Avenue. The kind of place where the walls are thin and the parking lot smells like fryer grease. The civil judgment hangs over her like a storm cloud. $48,000 plus interest. Wage garnishment started 3 months ago. 15% of every paycheck disappears before she even sees it. The preschool license is permanently revoked. She works nights stocking shelves at a 24-hour grocery in Gresham, now name tag that reads Brooke because the full version reminds people of the news articles. Mom and Dad rent a 1-bedroom unit in the Rockwood neighborhood, the cheapest senior complex that still takes Section 8 vouchers. Dad sold his truck to cover the first month's rent. Mom's bridge club stopped calling. They eat mostly canned soup and whatever's on sale at WCO. I heard from a mutual acquaintance they keep the thermostat at 62 to save on the electric bill. They never ask about Lucas. I never offer. Some Sundays I drive Lucas to the coast. We walk Cannon Beach barefoot even when it's cold, hunt for agates. Eat clam chowder out of bread bowls at Moe's. He talks non-stop now about school, about soccer tryouts, about the Lego spaceship he's designing. His 4th grade teacher sent home a note last week. Lucas has shown remarkable improvement in focus and confidence. I keep that note on the fridge next to his latest A+ spelling test. People ask if I miss them. My own parents, my only sister. The answer is simple. I miss the idea of them. I miss the version that existed before greed turned them into strangers. But the people who sat in my kitchen plotting to drug my child for profit, those people were never family. Blood doesn't buy loyalty, and it sure doesn't excuse betrayal. If you're watching this and you feel that knot in your stomach because something in your house doesn't feel right, listen to it. Document everything. Protect your kids first. Ask questions later because the people closest to you are sometimes the ones capable of the deepest cuts, and the law can't fix a childhood that's already been stolen. Lucas and I are building a new normal, just the two of us. Our rules, our laughter, our home. Some nights he still crawls into my bed after a bad dream. I hold him until his breathing evens out. Then I stare at the ceiling and remind myself we made it through the worst. The rest is just living.